This video is sponsored by Normandy 1998, 212th Trooper, Silas 1610, Carmen CJ, Rune Scribble, Kids of the Kitsune, Blood Down, and Papa Poto, and brought to you by Normandy 1998 who requested this topic. If there is a video you want me to make, just head over to Patreon and become a channel member, and select the Pickle Producer tier, since among other benefits, you'll get to make a video request every month, be it the continuation of an existing series or a brand new story. Now, before we get into today's story, I just want to ask you to do me a favor, hit that like button since it tells YouTube you enjoy what I do, and check whether you're subscribed, since only about a quarter of my viewers are, and it's a free way to keep up to date with all my content. In return, I'll do all I can to keep making regular quality content for you. Thanks, and let's hop in. Hey everyone, in the wake of Fallout's second season wrapping up, I figured it was about time to take another crack at a Fallout what if. Specifically, what if Cooper Howard, aka the Ghoul, was the courier in Fallout New Vegas? This is a question I've wondered about since pretty early in the show's run, since we know Coop was alive during that period of time, and is more than willing to take on odd delivery jobs, even unsavory ones, with the revelation of his personal antipathy towards Mr. House only deepening my interest in this scenario. But unfortunately, we won't be starting with Mr. House, since while logically speaking, Cooper probably would never get caught by a punk like Benny, and would be the one putting a bullet in his brain. If that happened, we'd have no story, since he'd just stroll into Vegas, bust his way into the Lucky 38, get the location of the management vault from House, and then saunter off to Colorado, maybe leaving a mini nuke behind for the Legion as a parting gift. So, for the sake of the story, we're assuming that Coop would and must more or less follow the plot of the game, which means getting shot by Benny and left for dead outside Good Springs. Luckily, like how he first appears in the TV show, Cooper is pulled from his grave, this time by the Securitron Victor, before being placed in the care of the kindly Doc Mitchell, who patches him up and sends him on his way with his gear, a Pip-Boy, and his compliments, showing an uncommon decency in this day and age that Cooper is not likely to forget. And more than that, he is quick to repay it, as when he overhears the Powder Gangers are coming, he decides to stand and fight with them, not out of any abstract morality, but because he looks at Good Springs and sees people cooperating, surviving, and making the best of things. All the Powder Gangers do is stir up trouble, and if the folks at the Prospector Saloon are able to toss a couple of caps his way, all the better. And it is here that I should probably mention Cooper's special stats, since like any Fallout protagonist he has them, and helpfully, his official stats have been released, making this very easy, with Coop's being a 5 in strength, 6 in perception, 7 in endurance, 7 in charisma, 4 in intelligence, 7 in agility, which seems a little low considering what a crack shot he is, and 4 in luck, which conversely feels rather high considering that it seems Cooper's fate is to constantly suffer, though maybe the luck is that he keeps living long enough to continue suffering. Anywho, those Powder Gangers are dead. Like, dead. Since there's no way a 200-plus-year-old gunslinger is losing to some chump raiders with dynamite, even if Benny's bullet to the brain has nerfed him somewhat, meaning that before he knows it, he's on the road again with Trudy pointing him in the direction of Prim, which he promptly ignores, since to borrow a phrase from Cooper's vernacular, he doesn't have time for that side quest crap. Though Nipton is a different story altogether, as while Cooper Howard can be a cruel man when the need arises, he is not a sadist, and shows a certain disdain towards performative cruelty, with the Legion's lottery and mass crucifixions ticking that box in a big way. As a result, Volpez and Coulter and his merry band of cosplayers are also going in the dirt, with this understandably not going over well with the Legion, though Coop never wanted to be friends with them anyway. And speaking of friends, Coop is about to make one, since if any man could understand the tortured Ghoul, it's Boone, and vice versa, with Coop taking the time to help him track down the person who gave his wife to the Legion, and giving the signal for the grizzled sniper to finish them off and get the kind of closure Cooper himself is still searching for. Recognizing this in Coop's eyes, as they are both the kind of men who have suffered incomprehensible loss and kept going, Boone decides to join Coop on his own quest to find his wife and daughter, with the two comrades departing at first light, taciturn, grim, but unmistakably united by a bond of pain and brotherhood. Due to Boone's NCR history, Coop would be dragged into helping out at Boulder City, though shooting some Great Khans is hardly the worst use of his time since he's apparently been terrorizing them for generations. And better still, one of the Khans present is Jessup, one of Benny's accomplices in shooting Coop and stealing the platinum chip, allowing Coop to finally get the name of the suit-wearing Fink who tried to 86 him, as well as his location of the Tops Casino. Though to reach him, he'll need to get through Freeside and it's gate guarded by Securitrons. Well, he does have enough charisma to speech his way into the fake passport or the skill to earn the 2,000 cap entry fee. His solution is likely much simpler, since he loathes Mr. House and he knows these Robco Securitrons are his, so he more than likely just shoots one with Boone's help and takes the key before strolling inside. And thus, we reach the ring-a-ding-ding of it all. As while Cooper would love to make a beeline for the Lucky 38 and demand to know where his wife and daughter are, he knows he needs a bit of leverage, and what better than the platinum chip Benny took from him. Consequently, his first stop is the Tops, and while he could talk to Swank and get Benny to come to his suite, Cooper has been around enough weasels to recognize that if given the chance he'll just run again, which means it's time to find out, could he be any more dead? No, he could not, as Cooper is quick to pay him back that same 18-carat run of bad luck Benny gave him outside Goodsprings, putting a bullet in his brain, and joining Boone in finishing off the chairman who naturally turn hostile when their boss is shot on the casino floor. And luckily for them, they're facing two of the best shots in the Mojave, and since Cooper's no grander desires for a rulership that would necessitate their survival, there is nothing to save them. Now with the platinum chip in hand, Cooper is at last free to enter the Lucky 38, where Mr. House is quick to greet his old chum after centuries apart. Naturally, Cooper is none too happy to see him, though knowing Bob has the information he wants, he offers a deal, the platinum chip for the location of his wife and daughter. However, Mr. House would not be the richest man in America if he did not know how to strike a deal, with him requesting a bit more than just the chip. He wants the dam, and when he has it, he will happily divulge the information Mr. Howard seeks. And here I believe Cooper would agree, which may sound shocking considering he hates House, but hear me out. Before the final episode of Season 2, when I was planning this series, I was certain Coop's story would be a yes man run, since he obviously loathes the Legion and House, but knows from experience that the NCR carry the flawed baggage of the old world. However, and spoilers for those who did not finish Season 2 of the Fallout TV series, in the final episode, Cooper does strike a deal with the devil to follow House's instruction if that will get him to where Barb and Janie are, and even shows that he doesn't overly care about providing House with infinite energy if Robert is willing to give him what he wants. Consequently, this temporary alliance seems like the best means to Cooper's overall ends, which means for now, he's House's man. With the face on the screen tittering that he's sure Mr. Howard must feel some relief that he did not assassinate him all those years ago as planned. Grunting that he agreed to work for him, not trade witty retorts, Coop heads down to the Lucky 38's basement to watch the Securitron upgrade before receiving his next assignment, deliver this patch to the entire Securitron army via the bunker underneath Fortification Hill. Unfortunately, that is currently the location of Caesar's Legion's main camp, but fortunately, the great Caesar himself wants a meeting with this strange ghoul courier, giving Coop the perfect pretext to visit. Knowing his friend will be unable to resist murdering every Legion member he sees, Coop makes the wise decision to leave Boone in Vegas for a couple of days, heading to the hill himself, where Caesar reveals that he wants House's bunker destroyed, even giving Coop a leave to enter it unmolested. And here Coop's ghoul physiology proves remarkably useful, since the constant radiation of the bunker is no problem for him, allowing him to descend with ease, and rather predictably double-cross Caesar. Though, is it really double-crossing if you never said you'd help and actively hate the person relying on you? Following this another round trip back to Vegas, Coop gets his next errand, recruiting the Boomers, who are honestly one of the factions he'd have the least issue with, since for the most part they just want to stay in their own lane, and that's something Coop can understand and empathize with. Though, knowing the value of heavy firepower from his time in the Sino-American War, he concludes they are indeed better to have as allies rather than simply destroy them, with him going the extra mile to earn their friendship, such as helping the teacher improve her curriculum with some old world knowledge, taking care of the ants for Raquel, and even reuniting Lindsay with her teddy bear, as he's reminded briefly of his own daughter Janie. Through this, it is not long before he's asked to help raise the crashed B-29 from Lake Mead, with Coop diving down and attaching the ballasts, so that Loyal and the others can bring the ancient plane back to the hangar and begin work on it. With their dream of flight at hand, the Boomers are more than happy to join Cooper's fight when the time comes to storm Hoover Dam, though before he goes, Coop does warn Pearl that Robert Edwin House is not a man to be trusted, so they should also begin planning countermeasures against him, or else they run the risk of being under his thumb forever. And speaking of being under Mr. House's thumb, Rob's next assignment for Coop is to see whether the Omertas are still loyal to him. Newsflash, they're not, since they're the friggin' Omertas, with Coop finding particular distaste for the way they keep their sex workers enslaved through substance abuse, which is similar to the vials he and his fellow ghouls are dependent on not to go feral. As a result, he is more than happy to join in on the plan to take down the bosses, allying with Caccino and killing Clandon, while freeing Troik. As Coop had hoped, there's enough to get Nero and Big Sal's attention, and having investigated enough by now to know what they're about, they both get a bullet in the head, proving the house does in fact always win. Though he does not always get what he wants, as next up for the courier would normally be the confrontation with the Brotherhood of Steel in their bunker, but since Cooper is a ghoul, there simply is no way he could make it into the Brotherhood base, as they would exterminate him on sight, and being smart enough to foresee this and recognize that it would be imprudent to throw away his most unpredictable asset before the battle to come, House compromises and moves on to his next objective, trusting the BOS will keep cowering underground until Hoover Dam is his, at which point he will no longer need to hide his Securitron upgrade, and can just send them down there to squash the troublesome zealots. And so Cooper moves on to his semi-penultimate task for Mr. House, saving the life of President Kimball, as the Mogul has decided that it's in his best interest if the Legion's assassination attempts against the man fail. Thankfully, here Cooper has a few assets on his side. First off, as seen in the series, he has a historically good relationship with the NCR, which is demonstrated by their willingness to assist him. Thanks to this, it is fair to say he'd be able to gain access to the full dam and be permitted to do a security sweep without much opposition. And second, he has Boone as a companion, as like in the game, he is able to identify two of the places the assassin could potentially attack from, giving Cooper a head start on his investigation. Sadly, due to lacking a trusty canine companion, Coop can't sniff out the fake Legion engineer, but he can use his time as a soldier to identify a bomb and defuse the one on Bear Force 1, while Boone's sniper's eye lets him point out the assassin and pick him off, saving the president's life, even if it is too late to protect the ranger on guard duty. And thus, Kimball is able to make his speech in peace, while Coop and Boone slink back to the Lucky 38, well aware that in the days to come, they may kill many of the men and women they allied with today. And as it turns out, this prediction will come true sooner than expected, as with the second battle of Hoover Dam on the horizon, House gives Coop one last job before the battle can begin: break into the Eldorado substation near Helios 1 and install the override chip. By now, Coop has gotten rather sick of Robert's little errands, though House is quick to assure him that once this is done, the only thing left to do will be attack Hoover Dam. Then, once it is his, he will reveal the locations of Barbara and dear Janie. Scowling deeply, Coop complies, once more flying solo as he knows who controls this substation. Likewise, he knows to anticipate their refusal to let him pass, and due to not owning a stealth boy, his only option is to shoot his way in. Against soldiers such as these, who have been enjoying a relatively cushy posting guarding a support building, it is not so much a gunfight as a slaughter, so that when the last NCR trooper slumps dead to the floor, he's able to stride inside and install the override, giving House everything he needs, and everything he's been promised, meaning Cooper will soon be free of this damned leash. That is, presuming he survives the second battle of Hoover Dam, as the time has finally come to seize control of the Mojave. Though their purpose is not wanton slaughter, since his House is quick to scornfully point out they're not the Legion. No, their goal is to install another override chip and then reactivate the dam's eastern power plant, as this will give enough power to the Securitrons to overrun any opposition, allowing Cooper and Boone to confront Legate Linnaeus. It is only thanks to the promise of this final task that Boone does not defect, as occasionally the pair find themselves fighting against NCR troopers, even if their primary enemy is the Legion, though by the same token, they just as frequently find themselves fighting alongside them, such as when they make their scramble to the power plant, since even if they're not ideologues like the NCR forces they stand beside, the old adage rings true: the enemy of their enemy has a lot of guns, and is good at killing legionaries. Thankfully, Boone and Coop do not have to rely on the friendship of the NCR for long, as once they emerge topside, it is to the side of House's Securitrons descending upon their enemies en masse, while in the sky, the restored B-29 rains death from above, making for a much easier path to Linnaeus' camp. Here the Legate awaits them, eager for battle, and with Boone's eagerness for blood, Coop doesn't even try to talk him down, instead agreeing to the fight that will settle things between their respective factions. And this is where it gets interesting, since could Cooper Howard defeat Legate Linnaeus in a fair fight? Probably not, but could he have Boone camp up high and snipe down at his helmet while Coop fires buckshot into his faceplate until the metal crumples like a soda can and crushes Linnaeus' skull and brain? Now that I believe he could do, and more to the point, he's precisely the kind of cynical son of a bitch who would do so when faced with unwinnable odds. And thus, the monster of the East dies with more honor and less brains than his victorious foe, as the latter leaks out of his eye holes, leaving only General Oliver to contend with. Thankfully, here Coop has House's order to withdraw, and while Oliver wouldn't like it, a high speech check assisted by Boone's history of NCR service, Coop is still somewhat good rep with them, and the fact they could really just kill him like Linnaeus if he doesn't listen, might be enough for the general to call for a retreat, ending the second battle of Hoover Dam in favor of Mr. House. Though this would not be the end of things, as Cooper Howard still has his reward to collect. it. And knowing how ruthless the actor turned Ghoul can be, House would pay in full, uploading himself to the Pip-Boy Doc Mitchell gave Coop all the way back at the start of this adventure, and guiding him down into Vault-Tech's management vault. As he does, he reveals the darkest secrets of this place, that it was actually made for the benefit of the Enclave, who House attempts to entice Cooper to assist him in combating, citing that it was Mr. Howard himself who gave them the cold fusion they needed to maintain their power even after centuries. However, this would be met with deep indifference, as Cooper's focus would be entirely on Barb and Janie's pods, which he would thankfully reach with no issue, due to Hank McClane still being safe and sound in Vault 33. And here we reach a fork in the timeline, since we don't know when Barb and Janie left the vault, as this video is being made before the release of Season 3. Consequently, there are two possible endings to this scenario. Either they're still in their cryotubes in 2281, at which point Cooper reunites with his wife and daughter and the three of them set off into the sunset together, or they're already gone. Though having left that postcard for Cooper, he sets off to Colorado, feeling hope for the first time in a long time. Either way though, one thing remains the same. As soon as he has his answer, Coop dumps the Pip-Boy and Robert too, before departing the Mojave once and for all, having little concern for House's schemes and shadow politics, as his mind is focused solely on the only thing that matters, his family. And that's where we'll leave things for now. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts, suggestions, or screams of rage in the comments below.